video tutorial of mine. I hope you are all fine and healthy. Okay, so let's get started. In this tutorial, I'm gonna explain you one question, which is the question 1. Okay, let's read the question. Write a function to calculate the distance between 2 points and return it. Your function is supposed to take 4 double numbers as input parameters and return one double number. Where x1, y1, x2, y2 are the coordinates of 2 points. Okay, I think we have done such exercise during maybe integrated course session or maybe during practical works, but it's not same. Today it will be different because today we are going to write our own function which calculates the distance. Okay, first let's visualize this problem. Here we have two different points, A and B. A has two coordinates, x1, y1. B has two, x2 and y2 coordinates. And this is the formula we have to use in order to calculate the distance between these 2 points. And as you see, I have stored the output of this calculation inside a variable which is called d. So I'm going to do the same thing inside of my function as well. Okay, let's get started. First, we need to, this is a C file, I have called it distance.c. I'm going to include a standard input and output header firstly, and I'm going to declare my main function here. So the main function literally is the main function of any C program. Okay, so let's get back to the problem here. So we have to write a function which has the name distance of. Okay, and this function should return us one number which is of type double. So as it returns me double, so it means that its data type should be double as well. Okay, so first we have declared the data type of the function, and then the next thing we need to do is to write its name, or to give it a name. So in our case it's distance of. And then the next one is parameters, input parameters. So here our function is supposed to take 4 double numbers, x1, y1, x2, y2, and these are all doubles. So I'm gonna declare first their data type and then their names. x1, y1, double x2, double y2. Okay, this is all about function prototype. I have declared my function, so I'm ready to go. I think this is the most important part in writing in a function, because you have to give firstly you have to define its return type, its data type, and then you have to define which input parameters it actually should take. Okay, so we write, it's strongly recommended to write function prototypes above main function. And then next thing is to fill this inside of this function. So it means that to define what's the main goal of our function. So as we looked at its calculation, so our function should calculate this formula and should return its output. And I'm gonna declare one more variable to store its output, and then I'm gonna return the variable itself. Okay, so I'm gonna declare double d, and you see we have the square root here, we have powers of 2 here, so it means that I'm gonna use some functions for math header. That's why I have to include math header as well here. Okay, now let's convert this writing into C presentation. So I'm gonna write sqrt power of x1 minus x2 to the 2 plus power of y1 minus y2 to the 2. Okay, now it's ready. We have converted this writing into C representation. Now our function should return D. Don't forget that. Okay, our function is ready, but it's not enough because we have to call it in order to use it. So we're gonna call functions inside of main function, and as you see, a function takes 4 different numbers, 4 different variables. So we have to declare 4 different variables inside of main function as well, and they also should be double as well. So I can name them exactly the same, x1, y1, x2, y2, as in function prototype, or I can name it others, like, I don't know, x1, y1, let's write like that, 2 and y2. Okay, and then I want to store the result inside of a variable, so I'm gonna call it distance this time. Okay, now next step is actually to assign numbers to those variables, right? So I want a user to enter numbers from keyboard. So I'm gonna ask user, please enter numbers for those variables. And then with the help of a scanf function, I'm gonna store these numbers in the address of those variables. So for this time I'm using %lf, because why? Because for each variable, so their types are double, that's why I need to use this precision lf. So don't forget, there should be ampersand in front of each variable. Okay, now everything is ready, but I have forgotten to put semicolon here. Good. Now now let's assume that a user has entered numbers for these points. Now the next step is to call the function. So as I told you, I'm gonna store the output of this function call inside of distance variables. So distance is equal to, let's call this function. This time I need to pass these variables to the function. Okay, but be careful when you declare a function, or when you create a function, when you write a function, in that case you have to write its data type. But once you have written everything, and you call your function, in this case you do not write any data type, you just pass the numbers. Okay, so we could pass here a number itself directly, or we could pass them with the help of variables. Okay, now when we call this function call, it will calculate something, and then it will actually calculate this. It's gonna come here and calculate all these calculations, operations, and then store the output inside of the distance variable. So I need to print distance variable itself in order to see the result. So the distance is %lf and distance, not distance of, but distance. Okay, that's all. Let's compile and run this program. In order to compile, I'm gonna use distance C, and I have to link the mass header as well. Okay, not a problem. So when you do ls, as you see, I have two files here. One is the C file and the other one is the executable, which I need to run it. So please enter 4 numbers. Okay, 1, 5, 2, 9, and the distance is this number. Okay, I hope everything is clear, and I hope you will enjoy this video. Whenever there's something unclear for you, you don't understand, you can ask me during our during some hours. So we will define some hours where you can ask your questions, etc. Okay, see you soon in the next tutorial.